Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak at the GlobalWIIN Conference 2023. I was invited by my friend, the founder of GlobalWIIN, Bola Olabisi, with whom I also am a director at the Intellectual Property Awareness Network, which will be awarding an IP prize tomorrow night. So I've been part of the judging panel over the last few months, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the criteria of intellectual property rights that I have had at the forefront of my mind while judging, but also to give, people who are creators, inventors, innovators, a little bit of tips and tools to ensure that they make the most of these wonderful legal rights that have been created to support innovators and inventors. So I want to speak about unlocking the power of your intangible IP assets. Let's see. Oops. Go back. Yes, so basically at the moment in 21st century corporate world, intangibles and IP are at the epicenter. Most companies basically have 80% of their value based in their intangible assets. Now, intangible assets is an accounting term, and it includes things like your brand, your know-how, but also intellectual property rights. So our corporate environment has really changed, and as inventors, innovators, most often you will create a corporate structure for yourself. You will create a company. And as you go through that process, you will want to ensure that as part of your business plan, you take into consideration your burgeoning portfolio of intangible assets and IP rights, because that's what's happening with your competitors. So right from the get-go, as part of your business plan, your business canvas, you need to be thinking about your IP rights and how you're going to identify, manage, perhaps register, pay fees. So it has to be part of that process. So my background is that I have been a business person myself. I've been a company director. I've been a company director of a listed company, which had quite a substantial portfolio of patents, trademarks, confidential information, been involved in confidential information, trade secret, litigation, and in my research I've tried to pull that all together in terms of corporate reporting. So if you're successful with your business as an inventor, with your products, your innovations, if you generate income from those, you will grow as a business and a company, and you will have to start to report on your activities to investors, to bankers, financiers, your own shareholders. And you will need to start to capture that intellectual property and intangible asset information. And there are some strict rules in company law for how you report, and it is a legal obligation. So it's something that, although it's not your main aim, it is something that is tangential but very critical to your developing business. So why is IP important? Well, you've probably seen many news reports saying that different companies that have created important innovations require to investigate whether or not they can protect it via patents. And patents provide you with a monopoly right that can last potentially up to 20 years. So investors, financiers, bankers are looking for these rights to protect your innovations and inventors. And it's important that as part of your toolkit, you learn how to communicate with these professional people about IP rights. And you learn the language of IP rights. And this is going to be a very long game for you if you're a successful business person. Patents can last up to 20 years. A copyright can last for your lifetime, plus 70 years. A trade secret can last, in theory, for as long as you're able to keep it secret. So it's something that you have to learn to manage and deal with. It's not going to go away. And part of managing your IP is identifying which rights require registration to come into existence and which come into existence automatically and still gain protection, but you don't need to register. So you may need advice about that. Once you're successfully registered for, say, a patent or a trademark, you have to pay renewal fees. And if you don't pay these renewal fees every year when they come due, your rights will lapse, and your idea, your innovation, your trademark will fall into the public domain. So we have a very sad case study. You're probably all familiar with the fidget spinner. That was a craze maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Well, it was invented by a female inventor, Catherine Hettinger, but unfortunately, she was, her cash flow position was difficult, and she was unable to pay her patent renewal fee. So her patent protection for that toy, that fidget spinner, fell into the public domain, and she wasn't able then to use the patent to gain licensing income. And a lot of other manufacturers came into the space, and unfortunately she missed out because of that. So again, as part of your business planning, think about registered rights. Now, other people, financiers, investors, are also interested in your IP portfolio. And in fact, an inventor, a very famous inventor in the US, but you might not have heard of him. Basically, Dr. Herbie Wertheim was a very successful optometrist, and he invented some optometry technology, which he patent protected. Obviously, did very well for himself and became an investor. And how he manages his investments is he actually spends a day reading patents. Now, you will probably have heard from Alison Image from WIPO, but we do have some freely available online electronic databases where you can search to see what your competitor's doing or whether or not there is, an invention of interest that you might want to license to work together to collaborate. But that is what investors do now. They start to read patents. And of course, they're going to start to read them using machine learning as well. So again, an important rationale for looking forward to how you're going to identify and manage your IP. Let's see, how do we move forward again? There we go. So if you're a startup business, I've mentioned patents, I've mentioned copyright, but all of you will have a business name. Most of you will want to think about a trademark for your key product line or ranges, but actually there are a lot of other IP rights that are less well known, but that still may be of interest depending on what your innovation or creation is. And that can be performance rights, that can be design rights, the look, the 3D appearance of your product. It could be an integrated circuit within a product. It could be a database that you create as a result of the information you collect. Even your own image rights or those of maybe people in your business who are high profile. Biotech plant variety rights. So we've been talking a lot about protein and foods and plants, but we do have plant variety rights as well. Geographical indicators. So you've all had some champagne or some Parma ham, and you might have a group of producers from a particular region who come together to set standards for the product in their area and to enforce those standards. And format rights. So we've all watched, shows like Dragon's Den. Well, that's a format. It's sold in different jurisdictions, and it's protected by a variety of IP rights. So I'm just giving you a sense that there are quite a few, and it's worthwhile ensuring that you don't miss out through unawareness or lack of awareness of these rights. And the research, in the universities, in IP institutes, has very much confirmed that if you manage your IP rights, you acquire and own your portfolio of IP rights as your business grows, these will enhance your foundation for commercial success. And it will ensure that your company succeeds Because, we've heard the statistics that most companies fail within the first few years. But having core value proposition protected by IP rights dramatically increases the chance that you will be successful. And if you think of the oldest businesses that exist, like pharmaceutical companies, well, they started 300 years ago, and they developed formulations that are now patent protected, and they've used their patents to protect and enhance their businesses. So, having a strong business doesn't only support yourself, your own family, your employees, but it has a much wider impact across society, all the way through to your customers, your suppliers, the government, because you pay corporate tax eventually. But you have to be aware of predators, and this is why IP rights are valuable for you, because you want to ensure that you can take enforcement action where possible. And as much as you do want to collaborate, you have to do it in a sensible, prudent way. And if you use confidentiality agreements, they can be two-way, they can be mutual, they can be limited, they can be quite extensive, but it is important to think about, if this is my company jewels, how do I ensure that I keep it secret until I'm in a position to launch my product, at a trade show, or to apply for a patent, because it is a precondition that your invention is secret before you apply for your patent. So there are cases in the press, you've heard David versus Goliath type battles, which a lot of small inventors and their companies struggle with. You do have to be aware of predators, larger companies, well-resourced, very good legal advisors, and when you're dealing with them, ask questions and make sure you understand the terms of the exchange of whatever that might be. In this day and age, there have been successful innovators who have brought to task infringers. One of them is a lady who has been here at GlobalWIIN in the past. She's a famous UK Inventor of the Year, Mandy Haberman, who invented the Anyway Up cup that if you have children, you probably may have purchased. But she was able to successfully bring an action against a copycat, but very much because she was supported by a policy of IP insurance. So IP insurance is now much more readily available in the marketplace than in the past to support you to bring legal actions. It's quite, detailed process to get it in place. But again, as part of that business planning, your business canvas, these are the type of things that are going to make a difference in the long run. The other thing that I'm involved in now is actually looking at the corporate records, the documentation of your IP, making sure that you have evidence of your creation on particular dates or when you maybe added something new to the process, to the product, that you can then have those records for. And currently in the business world, we're looking much more at how accounting as a profession treats intangibles and IP, because at the moment, unless they're acquired into the business, so you're inventing and bringing them in through the business, you're not buying from outside, but accounting will only recognize IP value if it is acquired into the business for the large part. And we're looking to try to find ways to change that position. But it's very important that you keep your IP records, have your folders, have your databases, and if you start to spend money on registering, on paying fees, that you keep those accounting records going through to the future. Because it may be one day you sell your business and you need to then establish the value of your IP. So if you can show that from the date your company began, you also valued your IP, that will be very helpful to you. So finally, I think my last slide is very much about being an effective company director in full knowledge of the IP and intangibles that you may own. Effective directors is really useful in a lot of respects. I contributed the IP chapter, But if you're a company director, these are the sorts of questions you need to ask and find out from your advisors, from other professionals, about how to manage and present, protect, and document your IP. It covers a lot of other things as well that might be of interest to you. And the good thing is that it's open access. So if you just Google effective directors, the right questions to ask, it will come up and you can download the whole thing for free. So it's a free resource. So I hope you found some of these tips helpful. And while you have the time to reflect at the conference, think about when you go home some of the actions that you're going to take to ensure that your IP is in good shape for the future and for your future success. Thank you very much.